Tonight, Vladimir Putin's march to war, with the U.S. saying an invasion is imminent. The new intelligence that Putin's already given the order to strike, and some fighting has started even as we speak. 1,500 explosions in just one day in areas held by Russian-backed separatists. Ukrainian soldiers hurt, civilians evacuating. As the State Department warns, it's dangerous for Americans inside Russia. President Biden huddling with his National Security Council today.
We're talking about the potential for war in Europe.
The cost of that war, the new warning the price of gas and other goods will probably spike in the U.S. And could Russia retaliate with a cyber attack here? The Queen of England now battling COVID, diagnosed more than a week after meeting with Prince Charles, who later tested positive. The latest on the condition of the 95-year-old monarch. Two helicopter crashes near popular beaches just hours apart, the dramatic rescue in the water off the coast of California, and the terrifying plunge off Miami Beach. The real spirit of the game, the powerful moments between these players and this mother before every tip-off.
This is NBC Nightly News with Kate Snow.
Good evening. I'm Hallie Jackson in for Kate. The world tonight is holding its breath, bracing for Russian President Vladimir Putin to make his move. With grim warnings from America's leaders, they fear he's made up his mind to go to war in Ukraine, even as they try and buy time by muscling open the window for diplomacy. But new reporting tonight shows that window may be slamming shut fast. With NBC News learning U.S. intelligence shows Russian military officials have been given the green light to invade, according to top sources. And President Biden today in the Situation Room for an emergency meeting. We have every angle covered this Sunday night, starting with our Aaron McLaughlin in Kyiv.
Tonight, a barrage of artillery fire increasing in war-ravaged Donbass, with more than 1,500 explosions in just the past day. The region is part of Ukraine, but controlled by pro-Russian separatists. Across the border in Belarus, just hours from Kyiv, an ominous sign the Russian forces could be there to stay indefinitely. This morning, the Belarusian defense minister extended his country's joint military exercises with Russia, which were scheduled to end today, citing the increasing violence in Donbass. Violence, U.S. officials allege, the Russians have stoked to create the pretext for war.
We're talking about the potential for war in Europe. I mean, let's really take a moment to understand the significance of what we're talking about.
President Biden held an emergency meeting with his National Security Council today.
There is still an option for him to pull back. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to prevent a war.
As French President Emmanuel Macron made a last-ditch effort to avert an invasion with a phone call to President Vladimir Putin. Putin blamed the escalation in Donbass on Ukrainian forces and called on the West to respond to his demands for security guarantees.
There is no innovation and there is no such plans.
But on the front lines, Ukrainian soldiers say they're already under attack. President Zelensky calling for an immediate ceasefire.
We have already 2 people dead, 11 people wounded, and it keeps going as we speak.
Inside separatist-controlled Donbass, thousands of women and children are being evacuated on buses and trains. They're seeking safety in Russia. Final destination unknown. I'm afraid because I have 2 little children, afraid that something can happen with them, she says. The men forced to stay and fight for Russia-backed separatists.
Men from the age of about 15 or 16 into their 50s aren't let out of the country. So this is something that's splitting a lot of families right now.
Families torn apart by a war that has yet to be declared. While tonight in Kyiv, people can only pray that this war will end before it officially begins.
Aaron joins us now from Kyiv. So, Aaron, who are we hearing has been evacuated from these separatist regions?
Well, Hallie, they're evacuating women and children, but I've been texting one woman in Donbass who says even though she's terrified, she's not going to leave her home. Hallie?
Aaron McLaughlin in Kyiv, thank you. It's not just that the U.S. thinks an attack is imminent. Multiple sources say there's intelligence it's already been ordered. Josh Letterman has new reporting from the White House tonight. Josh, what have you learned?
Hallie, two people with knowledge tell NBC News the U.S. very recently picked up intelligence showing Russian military officials were given an order to go ahead with an invasion. They say the U.S. then witnessed Russian military units take steps to carry out that order, preparing for an attack. President Biden knew about that intelligence when he told reporters that Putin had made a decision. Now, the president has stayed close to the White House managing the crisis. But tonight, the White House unexpectedly announced he'd spend President's Day in Delaware, then abruptly canceled the trip hours later. And with tensions soaring, there's a new warning tonight from the U.S. Embassy in Moscow about threats of attacks against public places in major Russian cities. Hallie?
Josh Letterman at the White House tonight. Josh, thanks. The president has been clear that U.S. troops will not fight in Ukraine, but his administration has warned a war would still have consequences here in America. It could send the stock market sinking and the price of gas and other goods soaring. Here's NBC senior business analyst Stephanie Ruhle with the potential fallout.
Tonight, a possible invasion thousands of miles away means potentially big impacts for wallets of Americans here at home. Gas and food prices, inflation, and investments all at risk. As the White House tells companies to be on alert for possible Russian cyber attacks on businesses and infrastructure, and warns of the potential economic effects in the weeks ahead.
I will not pretend this will be painless. There could be impact on our energy prices.
It requires sometimes for us to put ourselves out there in a way that maybe we will incur some cost. And in this situation, that may relate to energy costs, for example.
Russia is one of the largest producers of oil and natural gas, and Western sanctions or retaliation from Russian President Vladimir Putin could disrupt the flow of oil, meaning gas prices in the U.S. could soar, possibly as much as 30 cents per gallon. And that's not all. Heating your home could also become more expensive.
Gas prices are going up much more. Home heating is going up much more in Europe, but because we ship a lot of our gas over to Europe, our prices are going to go up as well. So yes, we will be paying more.
Those rising prices of oil and gas could push up inflation even more, making everyday items, including food, more costly. And that could slow economic growth if Russia invades. The crisis is also likely to cause more wild swings in the markets, as global investors worry about how a potential conflict will play out, potentially impacting Americans' investments.
So for those who, let's say, were planning to retire this year, start living off their retirement savings, should they be reconsidering?
I think they might want to pause, just take a look around, see how this all plays out, what kind of damage it actually does to their nest egg.
As people brace for the potential economic impacts, experts say the damage will hopefully be short-term, but warn there are still lots of unknowns if Russia invades. Stephanie Ruhle, NBC News.
To the other breaking news tonight, Queen Elizabeth has tested positive for COVID, becoming the latest royal to come down with the virus. And there are very real concerns about her health, given her age. Molly Hunter has the latest from London.
Today, Buckingham Palace announced Queen Elizabeth has tested positive for COVID-19. The 95-year-old monarch is experiencing mild cold-like symptoms and expects to continue light duties at Windsor. The palace not sharing any details about where exactly she might have caught it. Back on February 10th, her son Prince Charles tested positive for COVID, his second bout with the virus. At the time, the palace said the Queen had seen her son recently. On February 14th, Camilla tested positive, but there was no update on the Queen's health.
It's very different to the head of state in the United States, who, as you'll know, has regular medicals, and those checkups are made public. It's part of his or her role as the head of state. Our head of state, the Queen here in the UK, does not do that. The royal family tend to be much more private about their medical matters.
And then on Wednesday the 16th, we saw Queen Elizabeth greet military leaders in person without a mask. The message to the public, she doesn't have it.
The Queen of England at the age of 95, fully vaccinated with her COVID-19 shots, is still at risk of hospitalization. It's much less if you're fully vaccinated like the Queen. What's not clear is what variant of Omicron, most likely, that she was infected with, and could that affect her chances of also being able to get sick and potentially going to the hospital.
According to the CDC, people 85 and older have the highest risk of severe illness from COVID-19. Last October, a health scare put her in the hospital overnight and forced her to rest up for a few weeks. But since the beginning of the year, she's been back at work as she ramps up to her 96th birthday and the Platinum Jubilee celebrations coming this summer.
Molly joins us now from Buckingham Palace. Molly, do we know if the Queen's had a booster shot?
We know for sure she has been double vaccinated. We do not know whether or not she's had a booster shot. We have asked Hallie. The palace says they do not provide rolling updates on Her Majesty's health. Hallie?
Molly Hunter, thank you. Still ahead tonight, dramatic video of 2 helicopter crashes on both coasts just hours apart. Plus, Donald Trump is returning to social media, but this time he's trying to take on Twitter. Investigators are trying to find out more tonight about 2 helicopter crashes happening just hours apart this weekend near popular beaches on opposite sides of the country, both raising new concerns about helicopter safety. Blaine Alexander now with the story and the dramatic video.
The surveillance video is simply stunning. First, the growing roar of engine trouble. Then, on the left side of your screen, a police helicopter tumbles from the sky, crashing into the water below.
Airplane crash, Newport Boulevard at West Coast Highway.
It happened just south of L.A. in Newport Beach, California, where the officers were responding to a call.
It was like flipping over and like spinning.
It just started losing its control and went into a tailspin, came all the way down.
Inside, 2 officers with the Huntington Beach Police Department, one released from the hospital. But 44-year-old Nicholas Vela, a 14-year veteran of the department, did not survive. Now, the entire fleet is grounded as investigators try to determine what happened.
We do regular maintenance, it's ongoing maintenance, and there's a schedule that is comprehensive with respect to the maintenance on our helicopters, so I don't know what occurred.
It comes just hours after another shocking crash, this time in Miami Beach, where a chopper plunged into the water, just barely missing the crowded beach. Lieutenant Lucas Bocanegra was one of the first officers on the scene.
The location of the crash site actually helped the 3 survivors tremendously because it wasn't too far into the ocean. It wasn't very deep.
Just off the sand.
Experts say helicopters are generally safe, and crashes like these do not happen often.
Typically, you're supposed to be about 500 feet vertically or horizontally away from the nearest person or structure. But when helicopters are landing and taking off in crowded areas, they're designed for that. Then there are exceptions.
Tonight, the NTSB is investigating. Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
Former President Donald Trump is getting back on social media, but not on Twitter. Instead, he's trying to compete with it. This week, his own app called Truth Social is expected to hit the Apple App Store. Twitter permanently banned Mr. Trump after the January 6th insurrection, accusing him of using his Twitter account to incite violence. When we come back, more than a game. The powerful bond between these players and this mother. There's good news tonight about keeping memories alive and the unbreakable bond between one mom and a team of young basketball players.
Go to almost any game to cheer on the Mustangs in Sumner, Nebraska, and you'll see something that's become so much more than just a tradition. One by one, these high school players making their way to the bleachers to hug Jennifer DeHart, the mother of their teammate Eli, who was killed just over a year ago.
Jennifer, what does it mean to you to receive those hugs, those embraces from these students?
They make me feel special. They make my family feel special. It's like Eli is hugging me through each and every one of them because he loved them so much. And they loved him as well. So it's like he's coming home every time I'm there. Sorry. Really trying not to cry today, but it's hard.
It's sometimes still hard for DeHart to talk about Eli, who was just 14 when he died in a car crash.
Share some memories about Eli. What was he like?
Oh, he is so much fun, always making everybody laugh. Couldn't ask for a better kid. And he loved basketball.
That's why Eli's lifelong buddies, Kellen and Noah Eggleston, knew their team needed a special way to honor him.
We thought it would just be good to show our love for Jennifer and show how much we care for her and show her that we're always there for her and we'll always have her back.
In this tight-knit community, it's a small but mighty gesture to support the woman so many call Mama Jen.
Even when I see her like outside of the games, I always tend to give her a hug and tell her I love her and have a good conversation with her. Just to see her, it's so nice.
The team's dedication is a point of pride for their coach, Darby Line, who says it's helping them heal, too.
I'm just really, really proud of what they came up with. The boys continue to do this when their names are announced because it's so important to them.
Keeping Eli in their hearts.
If I could say one thing to Eli right now, I'd probably just tell him I love him, miss him.
By spreading the love he gave to others.
Going to those boys' games is hard, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, honestly. I know that my son is there with them. It's just the best feeling in the world because it's like my son is hugging me through them, and it means so much to me.
Jennifer says she plans on going to the games for years to come to support the team. That's NBC Nightly News for this Sunday. Lester Holt will be in tomorrow. I'm Hallie Jackson. For all of us here at NBC News, good night.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.